Blog Talk Radio.
Yeah, you are now rocking with the
Here, as he smote the hordes of Babylon, and upon his victory rose.
Yeah, you are now rocking with the best. You are now entering into A-Deuce territory, comprised of Supernova Slum, Instant Medicine Man, Heru the Tears. Been here for about 1 billion years, but we're about to get right into it right now. So yeah, Supernova Slum, let the niggas hear.
There have no idea what it took for us to get here. Grand in my center, grand representative. Southside, more some planet Brooklyn. Yelling and killing my rhythm is spinning. I'm beating you haters is where I'm from. Wait up for AR, us natives, no fakers. Salute us, maneuver us, the sonic women group us. Who us, Supernova Slum. The tier 7, all in our here. We the warriors men, from the Falcon clan. Swing and expand, let's fight brain. Think about it, come again. Upcoming, go face gangster with the guys on my side. Make the dead come alive. Ain't too fear to my eyes for two. High hair root, heat up from the feet up in the skeleton to the streets. Beat you up, you know what it is. What it is. You the systematic. Two kings, two guns, two minutes, with the bad chicks on them things they pimpin'. He's up, you know what it is. What it is. Systematic. Two kings, two guns, two minutes, with the bad chicks on them things they pimpin'.
Myself, my name is Aseer. Cause I'm a hoot to tears, and I've been here for years. And I'm about to rock your ears, and make your pain disappear like it wasn't even there. Just listen to my words and the power of it here. And boom, it's like I'm there, taking away your fear that you thought was out here. It was really in here. Your ferocious like a bear, but I'm gentle like a dove. I always come prepared, cause I come from up above. Just a flood like I'm Morpheus. Live my life victorious, just as big as I can. Show the crowd with my hand, make the dumb understand that it's the Duke of Tears and it's the medicine. Turn a whack jam into American dance band. Have the party people doing handstand and Roseland.
A's up, you know what it is. What it is. It's a systematic. Two kings, two guns, two minutes, with the bad chicks on them things they pimpin'. A's up, you know what it is. What it is. Systematic. Two kings, two guns, two minutes, with the bad chicks on them things they pimpin'. A's up, you know what it is. What it is. It's a systematic. Two kings, two guns, two minutes, with the bad chicks on them things they pimpin'. A's up, you know what it is. What it is. It's a systematic. Two kings, two guns, two minutes, with the bad chicks on them things they pimpin'.
Peace, human families of the planet Earth. How you doing? I'm your host, Aseer the Duke of Tears, along with my co-host from Leader the Emperor for 10,000 years, my brother, Saga Sky, little Lamar, hopefully will be going to bed soon. And respect to everybody who unfortunately may have not or lost somebody this week or in the past couple of weeks. We definitely want to send our condolences. Also, our condolences to Vesta Williams. She was one of the greats from the 90s who we will be building on a little bit tonight, just based on the symbology that I see in certain things that are taking place. And hopefully, you guys can add on and let me know if you're seeing some of the same things. So, specifically speaking, today is September 26th. This day is, or what they would say, will go down in infamy in the sense that this is the day that the government, as we speak right now, the guy that they call the President of the United States, been ordered into the underground bunker under the Denver airport. Now, we all know that the Denver airport basically is really not an airport. It's actually a processing center for processing people who are basically being taken from what they are referring to as the Western District, which basically means the western half of the United States, and then the Eastern District, which represents the eastern portion of the United States. Denver Airport is the so-called national airport. Hopefully, well, in their thing, they want it to be one of only two main airports that go in and out of the country. This is some of the plans that they got brewing. So we all know that the Denver airport was committed by the so-called same jokers that's running all of the bullshit that's going on now. However, they have other aspects and other features to it that's very crazy. Like, one, they have a giant oven in it. And, you know, these people in their oven, you know what I'm saying? But I digress. Let's start how we always started, from the cellar to the street, meaning that we take it from, let's say, the material aspect of what's happening and hopefully bring it up. So one of the things that's materially going on that's affecting us as indigenous people or whatever is one of the Moorish groups or Moorish societies called the Moorish Society. They are starting a petition for those people who want to be recognized by the so-called Obama administration. I'm sure that there are other Moors associated with it as well. For those people interested in doing so, you would go to Facebook and check out the Morokush Free Moors Act of 2011. You can add signatures to it, whatever. I believe that the brothers and sisters need 4,000 some odd signatures. Last time I checked, there was like 131. So this is something in which the Moors specifically are seeking recognition. And in actuality, this is the best time to do it, and just in the fact that they can't be hypocritical and potentially give the Palestinians their own state and not want to do that to the original people here. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. But in order for it to go anywhere, brothers and sisters need to sign a petition. So if that interests anybody listening, and again, respect to those brothers and sisters that are seeking to do that in that way, I wish all the best, because I know how these bureaucratic people are. And unfortunately, like I said, when it comes to things like this is where we get to see how many people are really involved. So all in Moors, everybody that's a Bay and an L or a Day or whatever on Facebook should probably hit up the society, man, and at least fill out the petition. You know what I mean? Because this basically, whether we agree with who's funding it or not, or whether we don't or not, whatever, at least we're showing some sort of unity and something to these brain-dead people in the so-called government that seems to be railroading people individually based on their status anyway. So at least everybody is trying to get on the same page about something, and I'm in full support of that. So again, anybody involved with that situation, and if there's anything that we can do, you know, to help support, you know what I mean, we'll definitely do that. So that's that. Very interesting. Another interesting thing is that a report came out that basically states that the United States Supreme Court has voided the Constitution. Again, the United States Supreme Court has voided the Constitution in the lower circuit courts. So this has come from a precedent, or a precedent was set. And I know as crazy as that sounds, all of this goes back to the fact that they can no longer reorganize the United States. So in order for them to be able to have something new or something potentially new with the same old ideas, they need to circumvent a full-scale revolution in which the people themselves rebel against the government, which will then give the government the impetus to rise against the people. Now remember, the basic factor, what America was founded under, was under rebellion. Yes, if you seek to do that, then you are being an insurgent and can be classified as an enemy combatant. And you know how these people do it, their little designations and shit. They rape you, they kill you, they torture you, they do all this other stuff or whatever, but all in the name of their country. But they never tell you what country that is. let me tell you this, a state, United States, as in a state, meaning United States, is a name. You know what I'm saying? That's something that is called that. A name of something is something that is intrinsically what that thing is supposed to be. So in that, United States is a nomenclature that represents several different things. Therefore, what we're also saying is that the United States was never a country. The United States was incorporated through the British East India Company under the term the Virginia Tobacco Company. I believe it was 1603. I could be wrong. But in any event, that was the incorporation papers that they set it up as. Then, afterwards, like I said, around the War of 1812 is when they reincorporated in the Barclays Bank the term United States in all capital letters, and then sought to circumvent the people's understanding of that here. Also, being that we're on this medium and we're dealing with these social mediums or whatever, we got to remember, you got to know that Facebook, being that it is a version of the NSA, CIA, they have created a new app now that basically allows them to track you once you log off. So that means when you log off of Facebook, something in Facebook clicks on and starts to monitor all of the different sites that you go to. And what they do is they literally collect all the cookies that you accumulate in hopes to sell the information to any corporation or anybody else that you don't know who may be seeking to set up a psychological profile on you for marketing or worse. This is one of the apps they have, and then this is all tied into the new thing that they got set up on it called the timeline. This is also a means to monitor and track. So, again, the more information, more of your own personal information you put out there on Facebook, you have to understand that that information is being downloaded through the NSA website and being uploaded into everywhere else that they can upload it to. So you don't know who has the information. And like I also said, they've created a situation. Stop it. They've also created a situation in which they are creating holographic, psychological, two-dimensional profiles, images of all of the data and information that they have collected on you from the time that you incarnated here. This is called a personality matrix. And this is how they've been able to basically foment and almost anticipate moves that certain people make or don't make based upon this whole thing. So, again, they don't need nobody to surveil you or whatever. They got everybody surveilling themselves now. But we call it social media. Social media is just another form of social engineering. So we need to just pay attention to that. This is what's going down. So all IT shit, all informational technologies, all of that type of shit, all of that really is about the war against human beings. It really has nothing to do with convenience or luxury, because the technology that they're giving us as human beings is basically trinkets, toys. They're not giving you no real technology. An iPad is not a real form of technology. There's shit that you could do with it and turn it into that they're not telling you that you can do, but this is what's going on. You got to look that one. Yeah. This is it. Okay. So they've created this situation where they don't really have any other choice. They're obligated now. They have to continue to go all the way with it just due to the fact that socially this is the agenda. So today, coincidentally, today is September 26th. This is the day that they are running their first DEFCON drill, or his first ever DEFCON drill, due to the fact that they're really crapping in their pants crazily about this whole melanin thing that's making its way up. That's making its way towards our solar system. And today specifically is the day that it's starting to affect the 45, which is actually 19.5 hertz that deal with the planet as a consistent organism, as well as this connection to this thing that's coming from this section of space. So this thing is rapidly approaching, and as it's doing that, it's producing all types of waves and all types of other things that are putting a lot of other social media networks and other things out of pocket. So if you notice today, those people who are on computers, a couple of times you may have been on your computer and it just bumped you off for no reason. Or you've been on the telephone and it's just bumping you off for no reason and shit like that. This is going to become more and more frequent as this thing moves closer to our atmosphere due to the electromagnetic effect of the wobble that this thing is basically bringing down, which is why we want to set up the Kachina preparing classes, to what we would call Kachina preparation, for those people to understand, again, the origins of why this thing is significant and why we've been building on this thing since we've been on the air. It's all leading up to this. And this is just the first part. You know what I'm saying? So this devil is basically hiding with the tail between his legs because they got to make sure that, you know, they try to survive this whole apocalypse. But the problem is they just had a nuclear explosion in their underground bunkers that we reported maybe 2 weeks ago. And the fallout from that has really shut down a huge section of their tunnel system. So they either now have to regroup, blow up some more tunnels, which would then cause more, quote-unquote, forest fires that you would see on TV that they would use to mask it, because that's what they do with those things. Or they have to find a way to deal with the radiation and just keep it moving. Either way, they're screwed. So those earthquakes, anybody in the Midwest feeling a lot of like sudden earthquakes or little tremors here and there, those are not necessarily aftershocks. Those are aspects of the government trying to salvage what's left of their underground tunnel system. This is when Jay-Z was talking about in the song Otis, where he was talking about we getting money up under you. That is also kind of caught up into it too, because at one point they were selling shares in the underground thing on the stock market. I'm trying to find the exact name that they used to hide it or mimic what it was, but they were basically selling shares in the underground tunnel networks that they created. They were selling them on the NASDAQ. I'm trying to find the actual name of the company and who was doing what, but this is what they're doing. But I think this is what he was referring to. You know what I'm saying? So it's definitely going in, you know. So, I mean, I don't know about you. Shit gets hectic. They would be the last people I would want to live with underground. You know what I'm saying? In any event, you know. Like, just to think about how boring and how unnecessary a lot of these people are. Can you imagine being locked up with these people for 20 years in an underground city? Like, oh, my God. So, you know, their delusions of grandeur are just that. But specifically speaking, this thing is basically on. You know what I mean? So you got to do the knowledge to that. Another thing to do the knowledge to is the fact that as he's in this underground bunker right now, prior to him doing that, one of the last speeches of people he spoke to before that was the National Black Caucuses, right? The Black Caucasians is what I call it, the National Black Caucasians, which is the National Black Caucus. Which basically, it's like what, black people from the caves? Either way, these pseudo-black people basically have decided that, you know, they fed up with this black man not really doing nothing for them, allegedly. You know how the bootleg go. And basically what he said was, stop bitching. Stop crying about it. Stop creating a situation where I'm having to deal with this and just come out and support me. You need to basically do what I tell you to do, and I'm telling you that in the end you got to stop crying, stop bitching, stop doing that. You think he tell these white people that? Hell no. Hell no, he don't. He tell them the exact opposite. I'll work on it. I'm going to make it happen. We can change this, you see? But when you start talking to black people, it's the opposite. You see what I'm saying? And this is the problem with these niggas, again, is that it always comes down to that. It always comes down to how it is they are preparing or appearing themselves to be for the people. But because we as black people don't demand better, we don't get it. But specifically speaking, this dude with the National Black Caucus, like I said, is basically was making the case that everything that's been happening is the fact that the Republicans are coming down on him and that they need to stand by him regardless of who or what. And that we'll get there. You know? So stop crying and put on your shoes and start marching. Like this is the advice he's giving black people At the same time, he's denying Marcus Garvey clemency. He's absolving the police from National Kill a Nigga Day, which is all the police brutality that's been going on. He just allowed Troy Davis to get killed. Do you know, speaking of that they released a white inmate for killing somebody a week or 2 weeks before they killed Troy, and all the white man had to do was say he was sorry. He was greatly sorry. They actually had a body. Everybody came out and said this brother didn't do it. Yet still they killed him anyway. So again, they're showing you, original people, they don't give a damn about you and that you're only here to be sacrificial lambs for them. This is what it is. So until, again, I saw or you saw any black people or anybody else that's other than us as original people coming out, Chinese people, Hispanic people, white people, whoever, coming out, working to stop police brutality, stop illegal state killings, because that's what they are. It's ritualistic state genocide. This is what sponsored state genocide. That's what that killing of Troy Davis was. That's what all them killings of executive people are. Because to tell you the truth, it's against the law for the government, state government specifically, to kill anybody. Because all of the states have been under duress since 1791. Therefore, anybody who is a lawyer, if you tried to try the case and he got tried as a lawyer or any lawyer or prosecutor tried the case, them people are foreign agents. They are esquires, meaning that they are under the auspices and good graces of the Queen. Therefore, they are foreign powers on American soil ordering people to death, to die. Citizens that they're not even a part of. They're not even a part of this country. You understand? It's against the law for you to have a title of nobility from another foreign government. So how is it that all of these niggas in the government all have titles of nobility from foreign governments? That means that they are serving foreign governments, which puts them in the contravention of the Trading with the Enemy Act, and which is treasonous, which alludes to $750,000 fine or 35 years in jail. Or worse, you could get hanged for that. But again, ain't nobody challenging them. Ain't no white people going on TV admonishing this. Ain't nobody saying that this is a problem. So they're going to continue to do it. And that's really the basis of their power structure, is the fact that nobody makes an issue about it. And for those people who do, there's not enough people to have their back. So once they eventually take these people out, then it's just like, damn, it's another one gone. It's like they have desensitized the entire earth for standing up for their rights, man. And all it's done is that they have created more and more psychopathic, narcissistic, insane policy officers who are trained to look at American, quote unquote, citizens as terrorists. So y'all tell me. So this nigga said, pick yourself up by your bootstraps, stop bitching about it, put on your shoes and start marching. He said, we can win this, we can do it together. Yet and still, you know what, let's move on. Also, there have been reports, I don't know if anybody knew this, but you can type up, let's say, www.observatories, right, and find an observatory in your vicinity or in your area or in your state. And you, with your computer, you can rent time on the observatory to look at celestial things at your leisure. And at the end, let's say if you buy it for 2 hours, you buy the telescope for 2 hours, you want them to look at a certain place in the sky. For those 2 hours, that's where that thing is going to be. And all of the information, all of that goes directly to your hard drive. It's very, surprisingly, it's affordable. So the other day I was doing this, and I did this with one of the observatories and shit in California, and was looking at Vesta, and I swear, man, the images that I got, there's one that looked like ruins on the surface. of Vesta, which, again, is one of the biggest asteroids. Right? So when I was doing the knowledge to this, I'm looking at this shit. I'm looking at asteroids. I'm like, wow, this is a ruins on this thing. It looks like an asteroid. So when I start looking further into it, I'm like, oh, shit, it is an asteroid. But then again, Vesta also is the aspect, whatever Vesta is in your chart, is where the deeper knowledge that you have within is reaching out to the higher knowledge that's coming to meet you or coming to get it to you, basically. Excuse me. Vesta is also represents the Vestial Virgin, or the Vestial Virgins of the zodiac, which specifically are only two, which are Virgo and Scorpio. Virgo is the 5th sign, Scorpio is the 8th sign, so both of them together in the vestigial aspect represent 13, which represents 4, which is culture, right? So I find it very interesting that Vesta Williams was found dead on the 22nd. 2 and 2 is 4. Vesta being the aspect of the black virginal, or the black virginal, meaning that the energy of blackness that has not been defiled yet. Also, Vesta representing the asteroid Vesta, representing where Vesta is in your chart also shows where you are the most dedicated to something. You know what I'm saying? So the physical representation of Vesta, which is this asteroid that I happen to be looking at that saw these ruins on, made me think that they may be trying to do something with that because they may be trying to reveal that. But in the process, they want to symbolically inhibit the potential of what is coming down to us with that in the form of manifesting in the ritual killing of this sister on the vernal equinox, of which when energy from the lower heavens reaches up to the energy of the higher heavens, and remember, we have something from the higher heavens that is matching the astronomical clock frequency of 19.5, right, coming towards us out of Leo. Vesta's orbit goes in and out of Leo. So asteroids in the chart, in your zodiac chart, will represent something transit, meaning something that comes in with an influence and then out with an influence. You see what I'm saying? Therefore, most people in your life are asteroids in that sense, if you're looking at things symbolically, because you usually see people, it's only when we try to hold on to relationships that have played themselves out that we find ourselves at a detriment, or we find ourselves in a situation we can no longer maintain the friendship. Because we've tried to maintain something longer than it should have existed, and in that now it is turned against us because the lesson was already learned or was supposed to be learned. Therefore, the physical aspect of the person has to make a departure. But when we seek to hold on to these people and try to make sense or force them to be with us, this is when we wind up in detriment. See what I'm saying? So I'm doing the knowledge symbolically that they've already committed this ritual, right, with the sister or whatever. First they came out and said she committed suicide in a hotel room, same way Pimp C did, same way Heath Ledger did, same way Brittany Murphy did, same way Donny Hathaway did, same way Jack Johnson did, same way, you know what I mean? Like everybody go to a hotel and kill themselves? Everybody go to check in so they don't check out? Like, come on, man. But again, they want everybody to believe that, hey, these people, you know, because they are musicians or whatever, we just automatically disavow them and not look into nothing just due to the fact that this thing has happened. And because it keeps happening, we have all, in a sense, become desensitized to it. But specifically speaking, this was just like the ritual they did with Tina Marie when they killed her. Right? Nobody really looked into that. Oh, she just died quietly. I guess that was it. Yeah, but how is it that she died, and then the week before her, Magnolia Shorty died, right? And they both on the same damn label. So they lost two of their artists within 10 days span? That's not a coincidence. You know what the astronomical odds are in something like that being random? But people want it to be random so they don't look into it. So in looking at that energy of Vesta, like I said, I was doing an knowledge for that. So when I looked at the knowledge when she was born, one, she was a Sagittarius, which is 1 degree away from Scorpio, right? 2, they caught up on the equinox, again, this 27th. She died at 48 years old. 8 and 4 is 12. That's 12 signs of the 12 signs of the zodiac, right? Again, they found her in El Segundo. Like, of all places, I'm not laughing at her death. I'm just laughing at where they choose to find this woman. They found her in El Segundo. Now, for those of us who understand hip-hop, we know what significance that has, right? Right? So we're doing the knowledge to it. So I'm just doing the knowledge to that. She died at, 48. Boom. Then, well, see, that's funny. One guy, news thing that I looked at said that she was 48, she died. Another news thing that I read said that she was 53. So 5 and 3 is 8, that's Saturn. And allegedly she died at 6:15, right? So that's 6/6, right? And then 6 is 6 is 12, so that's 666. So again, somebody put a stamp on it. So with this sister, if anybody has an altar, anybody has any of her records, you might want to play one. Put her picture up because now she's an ancestor because she's just another version of she's another version to me of Aset, you know, in the sense that her words, that she was able to weave like a lot of soulful sounds through the illusion being the music industry. You know what I'm saying? She was able to do a lot. So I just find it very funny that this instant talking about Vesta and then this thing happens to her and now she's automatically gone. Another great, you know, same way they did Phyllis Hyman. They say that these people kill themselves, you know what I'm saying? And because these people are known to have some type of, just because you're crazy don't necessarily mean you want to kill yourself. And just because you may not feel like confidence to who you are or what it is you about or whatever, doesn't necessarily mean that, again, you want to kill yourself. You understand? Specifically speaking, though, with this woman, I think there's definitely a connection to her as well as Phyllis Hyman, as well as whoever else they're going to take out. Because, you know, whenever they do somebody famous, they always do it in 3s. So it'll be interesting to see what they come up with next. But that's a whole another story. But definitely look into that. Another thing I was doing in knowledge, too, is that there's a moon in Saturn. So in doing the knowledge to her, reading about her and all of that, and seeing the Saturnian influence on her, let's say if she did die at 53, I'm doing the knowledge to that, and I started looking into Saturn's moon. And Saturn has a particular moon. Saturn has a particular moon called Iapetes. And if you look at this moon, man, if you look at this moon, Iapetes, and really peep it, man, you will see that first thing, it's a moon, but it's smooth, like somebody sanded it out. Then there are along the equator line of Iapetes, there's a giant gash, or like a ridge almost, in which both halves of the moon seem like they're coming together, but in between them there's like a seam space, right? Then at the pole, I think on the north pole of it, there is a giant circle about the size of Russia. And in the middle of the circle, there's a little nodule, like a little bump. So I'm looking at this thing, and I'm like, where the hell did I see this thing before? So I started doing a knowledge to it, and then I looked at it for what it was and realized that, oh, this is the Death Star. Go online after the show, whatever, Google Iapetes. I think it's spelled I-A-P-I-A-E-D-U-S. Iapetes or Iapetes. Look at this thing. This then started getting me going on the cosmic wars that have been going on with us and these nefarious entities for however millions, billions of years we've been here. There is something in archaeology that they will talk to you about, and it's called the KT boundary layer. I don't know if anybody's heard of this. It's called the KT boundary layer. And what the KT boundary layer is it is a anomaly that exists in research when you're digging down into the lower strata, because the more deeper you go into the earth, the older things are. So that means that the things that's closest to the top are the youngest. The things that's under that are the oldest. So the farther you dig, you get to a point where you reach this barrier of ionized carbon, of which they have not, or at least they're saying that they haven't. They don't have the ability to read through this barrier. But whenever they do carbon dating research, which itself is, when they do the carbon dating research, they can only go but so far. So let it go. So specifically what happens is they create a physical barrier where their instruments and the technology is not able to pierce or go beyond that. And so what happens is they basically label anything beyond the KT or the KT barrier basically like an anomaly because they can't really research it. The other day they came out with some bones that they found that belong to the original man, original woman, original child that go back to specifically 65 million years ago. When they found Lucy, when they found Lucy when they did the research to her, she went back 65 million years. Coincidence? You know what I'm saying? So there is a consistent relationship in terms of how this energy and how this is manifesting. And it's very interesting that the layer that they cannot penetrate to see this thing is a carbonite layer. Carbon, again, melanin, or let's say planetary or cosmic molecular melanin in that sense. So specifically speaking, when you start to do the knowledge to it, the geological evidence of this the aspect of it that really conflicts or really puts them out there to show what's really going on with it is the fact that once you reach 65 million years, they're gone. But what this also says is that 65 million years ago, human beings existed, specifically human beings like us, right? Now, when we go back to the Theology of Time, a book written by Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he talks about that the moon was cleaved from the earth 66 trillion years ago, right? That's 1 million years or whatever since they've been building. So when I'm doing the knowledge to this thing, I'm like, okay, well, if that's the case, then that means that this should be, if there was a cosmic war, if we're going to look at who may have fought it or what may have existed around that time to fight it, we got to look at what civilization was basically popping shit all the way. What civilizations have documentation in their oral or mythic history that talks about a specific succession of wars between beings that they refer to as gods, right? Now, this is how you kind of reverse engineer your research when you're researching it, because most research that's done in America today is based on hypothesis and theory. Therefore, it's nothing that's actually proven. yet they act like it's gospel because they have enough academicians in their scientifical societies that really all fall under the jurisdiction of the Royal Academy of Science in England. They all deal with that. So when you start to do the knowledge to it, you start to see, you go back. So there was a book I had read a while ago called Forbidden Archaeology. Great book. Then there was another book I read called Origins of Humankind by a guy named Churchward. And when you read these books and you get into it, he shows you a lot of what they say post-human remains and stuff like that. And what you find is that 65 million year mark keep coming up. So specifically speaking, when I started to do the knowledge to whatever books or whatever societies talked about this, one of the few that did was the Sumerians, right? Then there was another in Kemet. In Kemet, they talk about it as well. In India, they have the Chronicles of the Ramayana, right? And then you have another one called the Bhagavad Gita. And then in that, when you read these, you read about these gods, who, for whatever reason, had beef with each other. So let's say in the Sumerian text, right? Everybody has read the stuff from Zechariah Sitchin, right? Now, people say he's a disinformation agent, all of that. That may be true. They said he's down with it. That may be true, whatever. And people say that a lot of his translations is off. But the translations that I've read or that I've seen, you know what I'm saying, in terms of what he wrote and what people like Budge and other so-called scholars or whatever wrote, the translations weren't that far off. You know what I mean? Just keeping it real. So when you look at the pantheon, right, you say, okay, you got the good guys and the bad guys. You got Marduk, right, Enlil, Enki, Minarta. Then you got, on the other side, you got Tiamat, Kingu, Nergal, who rules Mars, and Anzu, and a couple other ones, right? Whereas in Kemet, if you look at some of the god structure, the darker gods are the pre-Typhonian ones, the ones that are older, but they're not necessarily evil. If you look at, are qualified as evil. If you look at the text, though, most of the darker gods in Kemet don't have the same, let's say, predisposition, let's say, to evil that some of the ones that you read about in the Sumerian text may have. So in that, a lot of the darker god, the dark context in Communion society was symbolized by Set, or Typhon, or the pre-dynastic Set with Khonsu. But it still wasn't necessarily evil. It did become evil. A Set didn't become evil, of course, until modern time. But specifically speaking, in Egypt, it didn't even, Kemet, it didn't even represent that evilness the way that it does in modern time. So therefore, we need to know that then these gods, if you want to call them that, were all contemporaries in the same house, much like the feuding houses in Europe, much like the feuding houses of, let's say, the black consciousness movement now, right? But they all come from the same house. Just like I said, in World War II, we had one main house that had been usurped from us, and that had been broken up and splintered by the Caucasoids, and their interdimensional interloping handlers, and then they began to war with each other to further extend the empire. So Tiamat could be a pre-dynastic version of Tuareg in Kemet, which is why you'll see an image of Tuareg and shows sometimes have a snake coming out of her belly. So therefore, Tiamat, in that sense, represents the primordial genesis of people. So when they say that, let's say Tiamat rebelled against Marduk or whatever, and they began to fight or whatever, you're talking about the changing of one epoch of time into another. If we are looking at both Marduk and Tiamat as representations of, or symbolic representations of transiting powers that are coming from a celestial influence. Whereas Nergal ruled Mars, right? So that's basically like Aries, or that's like Aries in or even Heru to an aspect. So in looking at our quote-unquote solar system, or the environment of what we have come to know as our universal solar system, these texts, or this so-called cosmic war, if there was going to be remnants of it, would not only be in the text in terms of the literature, but in terms of the radiation or whatever else that was left, the fossilized remains or whatever of these wars, would be after that 65 million year mark, which then would mean that barrier, the KT barrier that keeps them from going back past 65 million years, is actually, or could actually be the evidence of the war, such as analogous to that evidence, though, is also the fact that if you notice, every war that these people fight, especially since the time we've come into knowledge itself, if you notice, every war that they fought is always a place that has some type of ancient significant value. Iraq was Babylon. Libya was Punt, or Tripolitania, right? That had the ruins of the Lydian people. The first people ever, black people, again, first people ever to coin and mint, to mint and coin gold and silver, right? But you don't hear about them. But in essence, same thing in the Americas. When they came here, when they fought the war for the plains, all of that was them getting into the Midwest and all of the ruins of the Anasazi people and all of that existed out there. Sad. So specifically speaking, when we get into our historical research, then we as a religious people have to start looking beyond the categorized research that exists, because really our history is over 65 million years, or according to Elijah Muhammad, before that, 66 trillion years of history and technology being created. So essentially it becomes a situation where people are now being re-educated and genetically, or in a sense, re-indoctrinated to accept a new version of the old lie, in which now they want to associate all of our great achievements in metallurgy and everything else to an extraterrestrial race. However, when we existed and created all that stuff, we were, in a sense, in a higher regaled form. Yet the form and the archetype of us is still there. It's still existing, but it exists in that 98% of the brain that we not access, which accesses the 65 million plus years that exist that were taken out or have been forgotten, in which these people have been fighting wars in which they could occupy these places where this ancient weaponry exists and then find ways to utilize it. So they'll build machines based on weaponry, try to reverse engineer some old ancient stuff they found and don't even know how it works. And then the people who do know how it works, people like us, we have the knowledge to do it. If we was maybe, like if we was to see it, you might be able to know how to work it. We would. Because it's in our genetic memory that the blueprints and the dioramas for what these things would be or could be exist. Yet for them to open up and allow us to do that would then mean that they would have to accept us, which then means that they would have to accept their own extinction. Not necessarily because we would kill them all immediately, but from the perspective that they cannot exist in a state of non-perpetual war. This also means that when they went into Iraq and was looking for the weapons of mass destruction and didn't find them, we all think that they talking about nuclear bombs and shit. When in actuality, it's more likely that they're talking about all of the hyper technology that was left over from the time of Marduk and all that that's under there. Which is also why, as soon as they touched down in Iraq in the invasion, the first thing they did was make a straight bead to the museum and then looted it and then blamed it on the Iraqi people themselves. And ain't nobody know. They have no thing. Same thing they did in Egypt. Which shows a pattern, which shows an intelligence, which shows a method, which shows an agenda of using these hyperdimensional war engines as a means to perpetuate protection against what they know is coming, which is the energy of what they are referring to as Elenin, which 2 years ago they were referring to Comet G.9, which 5 years ago before that didn't exist. This so-called comet that they're referring to, they have classified it as a hyperbolic comet, which means that it's something that has never existed before up until now. Which means that there's no precedent for this thing. This thing just came out of nowhere. So all of these things are starting to spiral or speed up in terms of our assimilating the symbolism behind them, which then is activating more of the ribonucleic acid in the body, because that is, again, the form of, let's say, non-human or alien DNA that is specifically in a blue color sphere that allows this energy to manifest. So in the process of this, looking at, let's say, the moon Iapetus, as I was discussing earlier, when we think of weaponry and war, we tend to think of it in a conventional sense. Even with nuclear bombs and stuff, that's still something materially on the ground. The wars that we was fighting and the wars that was predating the modern time or whatever, these wars, and so we're talking about entire planets being used as weapons. We're talking about entire galaxies and universes being open to, again, hyperdimensional communication and interface, which then dictates a certain heavy, elevated degree of understanding that has to exist in order for one to assimilate the knowledge of what is actually happening in whatever event is taking place. So recently there have been reports of things in the upper atmosphere that people are referring to as space serpents. Ancient China referred to them as dragons. Same thing in so-called Africa and Europe. But these are anomalies, sentient, intelligent anomalies that almost look like giant tubes that kind of swim, or giant worms that kind of swim in and out of the realm of sight, as well as the upper atmosphere. And these things have been appearing more and more frequently. Case in point, the chemtrail rate has been kicked up a notch too, if you've noticed, because these things are becoming more and more earthbound due to the energy of what some people, again, are referring to as a comet or Elenin or whatever, coming towards us. You know, so in that, you got to know that all telescopes that they've made or will make are always military telescopes. So Hubble, for instance, is one of the best known ones, but they have hundreds of them out there. You know what I'm saying? So it's a continued development in this way that it's revolving and evolving into this Project Bluebeam that they want to initiate after they get to a point where they can no longer, control the imagery of what's happening to the public. They'd rather refer to it as an alien invasion. But at the same time, they don't necessarily know exactly what it is or could be, just due to the fact that this thing is moving at the same rate that we are moving. You know what I'm saying? In a concentrated line, and has never, again, like I said, been seen in reality before. Therefore, to call it a comet is not necessarily the best reality for people to do the knowledge to. So they want to make it seem like it's something else. So one of the other things that I found that was very interesting on top of that was the fact that the IMF, right, is going through financial problems now. Or at least they're trying to make it seem like they're going through a system where they may have to be bailed out due to all of the excessive bailing out and the fact that all of the toxic debts always go back to them. What may happen is that it may be a play in which, through some sort of Templar or Knights Malta organization, the Vatican comes in and then tries to openly pick up the debt, in which then the Vatican would then become the official landlord of the planet. I mean, they own it anyway, but, So another thing that's interesting is, like I said, is that the United States Supreme Court basically voided the Constitution on January 18th. You can read it on the docket number 10-632, 10-633, and 10-690. And basically the corrupt oligarchs in the banksters and corrupt oligarchs in the governments of Georgia, Atlanta specifically, Washington, D.C., New York, Baltimore, New Hampshire, they all basically have been, is down with the whole spiel. So they're basically just trying to run a open game, what they call a backface game, in which they're now doing openly what they've been doing privately. You know what I mean? So what this then means to me then is not only is the history important, why our history specifically out of everybody in the planet, our history had to be taken and done away with in order for these people to feel like they can do what they do. You see what I'm saying? Therefore, that era of history that they chose to break down, some will say that 500 years, some people say 800 years, 800 significantly from the time of when we conquered Europe. But specifically speaking, they have no means of orchestrating their destruction. So they're going to window dress it up as much as they can. So now that the Palestinians are trying to push for some sort of statehood, it is, I think, a good time, advantageous time for those people who feel that they should petition the United States government to do something like that for some sort of recognition. That would be dope. It's just the term recognition, is always turns with these people, and they very, very crafty with those. So it's good that everybody who got an L in the Bay should, in my opinion, support it, because it's something that, again, is coming from something that should be. already, or should have been already. So we'll see. But yeah, if you want to check that out. So they voided it in the lower courts, allegedly. And yet there's nothing on the news, mainstream news, TV, CNN, that's talking about that. So people might want to investigate that further and start to come up with alternative modes of dealing with these people. So yeah, watch out for that. Another thing in reading those old texts, Sumerian specifically, in reading about specifically these things that they had talk about called the Tablets of Destiny. I think that there's a connection to these Tablets of Destiny and the Emerald Tablets that have been spoken about in occult lore and history, as well as the Tablets of Hammurabi. I think that there's a connection between all of those. Because when you get into it, there's a thing called there's one called the something of Minerta. And Minerta basically was like a Sumerian god who kind of got duped into taking out Nergal, who ruled Mars. And after that, this whole thing, the epics of Minerta, or it's something about Minerta, but when you read that chapter, and it's just pages and pages of shit, but essentially what it is, it's like an inventory catalog of like all types of weapons. It's almost like they turned like a whole planet, or like one section of the planet was just all weapons. But what's interesting is that it also lays out the places where these things are, or where they allegedly, the ones that he kept. Because he kept some, he allegedly destroyed some, and then he allegedly reverse engineered some, and then turned them into modern day stuff that they could use, like plasma type weapons. So what that would then mean is that these things basically are the archaeology that lets you know where all this shit is at, which is funny because most of the places that these people are fighting wars, even go back to Vietnam. When they fought Nam, they fought it in the Nagar in Cambodia, in the Nagar castles, or all around that. Taking information, studying environment, vegetation. And that was a jungle. So jungles, again, are like, takes them about 250 years to become jungles, and then it will take another 350 years for the jungle to grow into a forest. And then let's say another 600 years for that forest to become a civilization. And then from that civilization, probably take another 200 or 350 years for that civilization to fall and then go back to wildlife, or the wild. And then from the wild it goes to the bush, and then from the bush it goes to the jungle. Unless climate changes and geographic changes change the ecosystem of the environment, which tends to happen during war. See what I'm saying? So war is a conducive aspect of not only control, but of the progress of humanity itself, which is why they use it the way that they use it. But everything that is the most powerful in the universe usually comes in the smallest packages. The singularity that's created the entire everything, everywhere, all at once, was no bigger, it was smaller than a grain of rice. It still is. The more big something is, the more symbology-wise, when you're dealing with planets and planetoid astrology, when you deal with that, it's the small nuances that create the the relative nature that becomes the big thing. So if you was to ask an average person if they knew what World War II was, they say yeah. But if you ask them, well, what started it, they couldn't tell you. You know what I'm saying? Same thing in relationships. It'd be the things that sometimes you let go, be the things that bother you the most. But you know that if you echo it or speak it, you got to deal with it. And what's really going on in that situation is that you may not be ready to deal with what has to happen afterwards. So you put it off. So again, when they was looking for these WMDs, they was looking for super technology left over by our ancestors in their material and cosmic sense. And due to our interconnectedness between all of the different variations of ourselves, yet we all ascribe to the same Great Spirit. But when that Great Spirit became divided due to the demiurgical energies that were let loose here, everyone and everything began to degenerate into a quasi-host for different personalities that allow different realities and universes to exist. So the same way you have a different personality, a different alternate self, alternate universe, the earth and the universe and everything else does. So just like there's another you, there's another him and her and them, and each one of them has their own thoughts and ideas. Therefore, each one of them is their own universe and sub-universe. And you see what I'm saying? It's an infinite pool, but it all comes from one singularity. That singularity is God, generator, operator, destroyer, or Gumar Oz-Dubar. Yet, that God now, that space, that singularity exists, has now been usurped by alternate entities to then take the energy of what you give to that singularity and what it gives to you and can divert that energy to them and it. So you become the food for the divinity that you worship. There's something that also means that the asteroid belt that exists outside of us, that Vesta is the biggest asteroid in. That asteroid belt then is the remnants of Maldek, or what back in the 50s they called Maldek Krypton. That shows you how deep Nazified the whole Superman thing is. Krypton was the original name of Maldek, that they call Maldek, or at least that's what they was calling it when the military intelligence was dealing with it. Code name. Of that, Ceres, which represents, Vesta, is the biggest one in there, which is why these ruins exist on it, because it's a piece of something. So in that, this thing that's coming towards us is very deep, because it also it does not seem to be affecting the Roche limit of any of the planets in our solar system. It seems to be revealing more planets. It seems every other day they're showing you a new planet they find, which is showing you how expansive everything is becoming. The further back you go, the wider it becomes. The closer to you, the smaller it looks. So the Roche limit is the gravitational barrier that surrounds all celestial bodies, basically the thing that keeps all of the planets rotating how they're supposed to. So if there was such a giant thing as Nibiru, for instance, coming through the way it would, around the time that it was coming, you would probably see a wobble in the planetary spheres as they make their procession. We haven't seen that. Yet this thing, as it has a direct telemetry towards us, is accentuated now in a fear almost factor by members of the JPL and NASA and whoever else. So that tells me that it is the exact opposite intent of whatever is coming. If they want me to fear it, then that means I should be its friend. If they want me to be its friend, then that means I should fear it. It's always the opposite. So the fact that this thing is moving with a directed form of intelligence, but at the same time is not disturbing the other, let's say, planets in the solar system, yet more and more planets are revealed in its wake, this thing is then having the alternate effect of what they want us to think it's doing. Like I said, if you turn the radio thing to it, or with the telescope, if you rent it, you'll be able to get an audio from it, an audio recording from it. And you never know. You play that shit, you never know what you'll unlock, because it's sending off some sort of radio waves or something. It's got to be. Because anything moving at an astronomical speed is going to have some type of vibratory resonance that will equate to sound, that will equate to a vibration that in space is sound, because space is a vacuum. You know, so this thing is going to be the closest to us. The thing is going to be the closest to us around October 10th. It's going to be pretty close at 19.50, which is 19.5. 19.5 is a resonant aspect that keeps turning up. Astronomers and physicists, like mad people, have talked about it. But also, for those people who have been reading, like me, who have been reading Scientific American and these things for a long time, you would know that these things, these black hole type computers that they're using to calculate this stuff, is basically all based on the inventory or working of bioluminescent matter, which is why the two-dimensional entities that they mess with, that they incarnate through ritual and stuff like that, have to deal with, their whole purpose is to just break down everything to understand God, or to become God. But to become God, they got to really know, you know. So all the experiments and the abducting and all that type of shit is them basically seeking to create or become something that they know they can never be, because they are the antithesis of it. Yet they exist. Therefore, the Creator does have an intent, or else they would not. The problem also is that the United States, as well as Europe, well, the United States more than other nations, but specifically Europe, they all are bogged down into Newtonian physics. Theories of Newton and Galilei, you know, they deal with real outmoded concepts and then add on the new concept to justify the old one. But see, once a new concept has been updated, the old one is now obsolete. You know? Something else. talked about the Facebook. Yeah, they're creating psychic profiles with that. So be careful in what you post on there. Because that profile will be the holographic image that they then try to use and download to create an influence and make you think through the brain of the hologram. It's what they did with Wu-Tang. There's a clip of WODB, Bless the Dead, talks about that. Another book called General Psychology that discusses that as well. It's a textbook, but it was done at a time when they were just starting to reveal certain things between 79 and like 95. So we could go to some calls. Peace, 240, you on Super Heru Radio? Anybody there? Nah. Peace, 718, you on Super Heru Radio?
Peace, huh?
Hey, what's up?
Peace. What's
up, homie?
What's going on?
What's going on? I'm chilling. How you?
Maintaining. Peace to you, Amor. Everybody. Her birthday was recently, right?
Yes, sir. On the 22nd.
Oh, okay. Mine was on the 9th, so.
All right. Happy belated, homie.
No doubt. The Facebook thing, that thing is real serious, man. Actually, I found out about it. MySpace has one also, but most people don't really mess with that.
Which means all of them got it.
The name that I saw it under was it's called Facebook Wallpaper or something like that.
Right.
Like the name changes because the only way that I would know about it is that I go and I check the cookies.
Right.
Because I know the cookies are tracker. And every time it will only pop up on there, every time when I used to go on Facebook. So I have to manually, delete the application because it would never come off, even when you restart the computer and everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these people are serious about creating these clones, man.
Super serious. They merging this Facebook to be a alternate.
Pretty soon, it's going to be called the Ultranet. Remember, you heard it here first.
Right, yeah, I remember.
Call it the Ultranet.
Yeah, the thing about he's talking about like other beings, like with the solar system. Like last week is an old article, but you know when we start talking about things, they want to do an article about it, like if they've been on it.
Exactly.
But last week they kind of rehash this investigation that a group of scientists had done on the Milky Way galaxy.
Wow.
And our solar system. And the investigation showed that the reason why we are on the outskirts on one of the arms of the Milky Way galaxy is because through the investigation, we originally was not from this galaxy. This pocket of solar system and stars actually came from another galaxy, which is near the Virgo cluster.
Makes sense. This is why the Vestal virgins, like I was saying earlier, the virgins of Vesta were the ones that were sacrificed. Whenever they had a sacrifice, it was always a virgin, because that virgin was connected to Vesta, usually a Virgo or a Scorpio.
So this will give you another clue now to like some of the turmoil that we be seeing manifesting, whether it be with groups or wars or countries or what it may be. Because literally it's beings from one galaxy that's fighting with another group of beings and energies from another galaxy who's basically trying to consume each other into one.
Yes. Because they want to restart creation with a whole new singularity. They want the ultimate destruction to become a wave like the one that created and destroyed Tiamat, Marduk, and cleaved the moon from the earth 66 trillion years ago. They want to redo the whole thing, create a new singularity, which then would create a new universe. Or it would force all reality to fold in on itself and then become an antimatter, dark matter universe in which reality was based on immediate materialism. So you think it is there. You know what I mean? So in a reality like that, everybody can do what they want. Yet there's a certain order to everything, which would then force someone else in the form of a tetrahedral redundancy to manifest. So like the tetrahedron, which is the simplest form, is actually the base form of the Merkaba, right, which is the ability to transform into the light vessel, which is trapped in that 98% that we tap into through the dream, but it's becoming more and more apparent in reality, you know. So it's like the more of us that wake up represent more of the redundancies, more tetrahedrons potentially coming online, which then create more of a redundant energy that breaks up the current system. You know what I mean? So it's like they can't really hide anything anymore. So what they're now doing is just using what's already out there as a means to instigate the argument.
All right.
Physically represented as 50 Cent instigating the argument between Ray J and Fabulous. Ray J representing one form of reality, right. Fabulous representing one form of reality, 50 representing the culmination of the two.
And look at only thing, what came to mind first is for anybody that studies the Golden Dawn. Like, for example, in Golden Dawn, in some of the lodges and temples, they'll make people kind of wear, like, alternate colors.
Right.
Like like with Masonry initiation, but sometimes they will wear one red sock and one black sock.
Exactly.
So as soon as I heard about Fabulous and Ray J is in wearing, like, red and a red hoodie, and Fabulous, of course, will be wearing all black. I'm like, wow, look at this polarity.
Right.
That
and both colors together represent anarchy, black and red. Whereas black and yellow represents ritualistic fear. So it's like a culmination of their color theory working with the satanic symbolism that they unwittingly get people to participate in with promises of material wealth, because that's the basis of it all. But because the entities are made of air, they have to travel and cannot read people's minds. So it has to suggest. So in the end, it's really us or the lack of knowledge that allows people to become victim, or allow themselves to be worked through to create the portal for these things to exist. Yet, and still, like you said, it's through the Golden Dawn stuff. That's the other part of it. It's like you got the JPL people, which is the Jack Parsons, Scientology, Pasadena, Malibu, you know what I'm saying? Those type of people, Satanists. And then you got the Freemasonic, you know, Jack Nicholson type, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Freemasons. Then you got the warlocks and shit. You know what I mean? Like the Crowleyites are warlocks too, but these warlocks are like Nazi warlocks. So they're dealing with science and demonology, more specifically through science. Whereas the JPL people are using science as a means to manifest what they want. So all of the meetings, the ships, Atlantis, Voyager, Journey, Challenger, Apollo, you know, Apollonian is the name of Lucifer. You know, so Apollo is Lucifer to them. You know, whereas to us, Apollo would be Heru.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But Heru is also Lucifer to them. Therefore, when they sacrifice us, it's a sacrifice to Heru, to itself. See what I'm saying? So it's always the opposite ritual of what they appear it to be, because essentially it's all about distorting reality enough for more of them to incarnate through, while we're just caught up in trying to protect ourselves from each other. You know what I'm saying?
You heard of this brother called Horace Butler?
Yes.
Okay.
He wrote a book called When Stones Cry Out, Rocks Cry Out.
Yeah, he came across more information besides him proving the Jesuit documents that prove that Bethlehem, Jerusalem, Nazareth, and Western Kemet was actually South America, Central America, and the northeast part of North America. His other investigation has proved that we basically had many different migrations across the millennia.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the reasons why they're finding old bones in just one specific spot in Ethiopia, which is basically where, like you would say, our old Washington, D.C. was at, in the Spain Kemet region, is because we actually did many different migration backs and forth with the bodies. Like in his investigation, he found that in the Americas, there's a whole bunch of pyramids, but like the chambers and tombs are empty. But in the East is a few pyramids, but there's a whole bunch of bodies. Even some tombs have been found with multiple bodies in them. So basically we had different migrations from east to west, west to east, and from North America and South America.
Yeah.
There was another article that was last week, like either Thursday or Friday. They said, now we have to go back and rewrite the history books because first so-called man, they said, appears to not have been migrated out of Africa, but actually came from Australia.
See, Aboriginal.
Right.
Which then means that in 100 years, in 2 years, they're going to bring it up to South America. And they're going to bring it up to us. Like, it's you know what I'm saying? Like, how else are you going to work this, man? Like, how are there many ways you're going to try to put it out without putting it out? Like, just keep it real.
All right. It's like they catching up slowly while biting their teeth and, like, kicking themselves.
Yes.
And trying to figure out a way how they could visually project themselves there.
Yes, and use us as the projector.
Right. Because I looked up that what you said about the 65 million years ago. You could find that when people search supercontinents. Like Pangea is not the beginning and the end all. There's actually supercontinents before Pangea, during, and after. Pangea was just like a medium point. But when you research that, allegedly the dinosaurs has disappeared around that mark, 65 million years ago to 50. But when you research human footprint with dinosaur footprint, allegedly some of them they claim is false, but then some of them they can't say that is false. But if you look on a map 65 million years ago, there was like what they call Gondwanaland. South America connected to Africa, and Gondwana land means land of the dark people.
Land of the dark people, exactly. And Guana was a form of Moorish Palomayombe. It's like a form of the religion. It's an aspect of it's like a Caribbean or Eastern version of the Kachina religion, the whole thing about the red and the blue Kachina. Because it's the same people, you know.
Pretty much.
Like whenever they use ancient in front of anything, we know that's us. Whenever they say ancient Rome, that's us. Rome, them. Ancient Egypt, us. Egypt, them. Like, it's easy. But when we even say them, we're saying those of us who eventually had the mind state that eventually allowed people like we are today living with to become powerful. So really, we're still talking about us. You know what I'm saying? Because he or it is really not the problem. It is just the aspect or the germ of physical reality.
All right.
But it allows, but for some reason, Caucasian people allow themselves to be inhabited by this need to be superior, you know, and even in which they do things to degrade themselves, they will still use mannerisms and things that they have been taught are not a problem in their society. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, like, a lot of Caucasian people don't know what it's like to be in a situation where they are the only Caucasian people in an environment. You know what I'm saying? Chinese people know what that's like, though. Black people know what that's like. Indian people know what that's like. You know? But when these people are in our communities, we're not like that. You see? So it's a difference in mentality, I think, and how we've come to understand race as a military application. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I'm gonna leave you with this that I found out over the weekend. There's a dude from Belgium called Bernard Lietaer. Bernard Lietaer. He is what is called, this is when you understand that there's so many different programmers in the matrix. He is what is called a monetary architect.
He builds monetary systems.
Right. These monetary architects are scattered all over the planet. Some of them are working as consultants now, and they have started different private, like funds and trusts that are private, and that they're making billions and trillions of dollars. But these monetary architects, they design currency for states and governments and also corporation, which is mind-blowing to me. But when you understand that a government is a corporation, then it's not really, that hard to figure out. But when you watch, he has like a few videos on YouTube. But when you watch him, this dude is breaking down what he knows as patriarchal and matriarchal currency systems. And he said that currently we're in a patriarchal currency system, which is doomed to fail because it's one-sided. But in a matriarchal currency system, you will have a currency for the state or government, but then you will have what is known as a social currency for the people, which will not interfere with the government or the state side one. He even goes into the currency of Kemet.
See?
So I'm like, how is this European? He basically gave an example in breaking down the day-to-day life of Kemet people dealing with currency, which is something that we have to do.
And who is Howard? It's how he usually talking about us. It's how he used to talk about us. He's like, yeah, these niggas, they basically just have some cowrie shells and shit, and they, if this person could afford cowrie shells, he'd take that, but then he would have to pay this much later. And then if this person had that, he would then get this much and then have to pay this much later. But then everybody made sure that the government was running. It's real. It's like it's the same shit that we was doing here up until the Republic folded.
Right.
That's where the shit went wrong when the Republic fell, man.
Yeah, where everybody, every republic had their own currency.
Yeah, man.
With their own symbols and signs and everything before they started the one.
Everybody could rock how they wanted, so long as you didn't mess with me, I didn't mess with you, and that's how it seemed like this. This is why you can learn. I had some, but they never tell you about the tribes and nations and all that stuff was going on here, because it was all over here first. All of that over there was just named later. Like there's an Alps over here. It's called the Appalachian.
Yep. Right. Oh, you gotta just look on the map. The names don't repeat by coincidence.
Right. In an exotic map of the United States, it will show you that there's a Luxembourg, a Vatican, everything. Everything is right here. That's why everybody in the world is right here.
Right.
Nobody's in Europe. Who's in Europe? Nobody wants to be over there. Everybody's over here. And when they get here, they realize how stupid they are from leaving for where they came from. But now they can't go back because now they're in debt. And that's why this shit got to stop.
Yeah, but check him out, though. He has some very, very, very good gems.
His name is Leiter, Leiter, right?
Yeah, Bernard, Bernard, Leitaer.
Okay.
Bernard Leitner.
Okay. Thank you, my brother. Thank you for calling.
As always, man. Thanks.
Peace. Peace, Superhead Radio. 856. Can you hear me? Okay. Yo, what's up, everybody? Let's try it again. Can you click a call, please? A call, please. Peace, Superhead Radio. 347.
Hello?
Peace. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Queen. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing fine. I have a quick question. about, like, in the rap games. I wanted to know why it is always portraying, like, for example, Nicki Minaj. Are they, like, using her to manipulate her or follow her, her image?
Yes.
You know, like, for example, the other day she was performing, and she had, like, a ridiculous chain on, and it's a chicken wing. And I'm just saying, like,
a pink
what
chicken
kind of...
I saw that.
Yeah, so I just wanted to know what's all that buffoonery styles and things that she be doing.
I did a lecture a while ago. It's on my website. It's called Porcelain Doll Programming. And basically, that is a form of mind control or self-hypnosis mind control in which the person is trained to believe that they are a doll, you know, where they have no physical emotion. So if one is trained to believe they're a doll, that means that they are very still. If you notice, in a lot of her pictures, she's always standing kind of very still, you know.
Yeah.
Or she's the other extreme. She's like growling or like kicking or doing something with extreme with her face, and then it's like frozen like a doll. So
I see a lot of women out there want to look like her and be her.
Yeah, because that's why they have the little girl. It's the same reason why pimps wear real bright colors because they're trying to attract the wonderment and the childlike innocence of the feminine nature, to be able to Barbie it and turn it into a porcelain version of itself. Prince was porcelain doll. Remember in Purple Rain, he had the mask, the purple porcelain mask. You know, he had the white porcelain. That's all porcelain programming. That's all them. Anybody that does shit to their face like that, or like all of these niggas who got all these tattoos over their whole body.
Yeah.
You know, like before Tupac, nobody had tattoos. You know what I'm saying? After Tupac, everybody had tattoos. And then after 50 Cent, everybody had to get
the tattoo, like Wiz Khalifa, Rick Ross.
Yeah, you don't even see that. Yeah, you don't even see that. But they don't know what. But remember, in each medium of our society, there is a form of, let's say, angelic frequency and demonic frequency that goes with it. So if you are going to tattoo parlors and shit after the strip club, after smoking mad weed, after drinking, after having unprotected sex or whatever type of sex you're having, and then you go get this tattoo, in that needle, in the ink, is the energy or the demon, if you will, that accompanied you through the whole experience. So now this demon or entity is this tattoo that's now on you. So sometimes to get away from the energy of that one, they get a whole bunch of other ones to take away from it. You see what I'm saying? When really, it all winds up in the same place anyway.
Yeah.
Them not really having an understanding of the fact that they are now possessed or abducted. You see, alien possession and demonic, alien abduction and demonic possession are the same thing.
Oh, okay.
You understand what I'm saying? So they're saying one thing, they're saying the other.
The other,
it's just how it's related. You see what I'm saying? So essentially they're using her, they literally turn her into a chicken head, right? So
straight up.
She is now the archetype of this agenda of turning black women into something called a Harajuku Barbie.
Yeah.
Which was something that was created by Gwen Stefani, right? Which is something that she experienced when she was in Japan. And Japan is a straight mind control culture.
Yeah.
So essentially, she's just there to inspire little girls to disassociate from being black. So she dressed up like a ninja. She'll dress up like a whatever, but she'll never dress up like Harriet Tubman. She'll never dress up like. You know what I'm saying?
Not even.
She'll never. Right. She always got to be something that's not human, and that's how they want to look at all women of color. They want to make you look like you're not a human.
But how long would this last? Like this whole thing? Like how long would this whole thing last by her doing that?
It will continue until somebody else takes her place, because she just took Little Kim's place, and Little Kim just took Foxy Brown's place. Foxy Brown just took what's her name's place. You see, that's why they all hate each other. Just like Indy Irie took Erykah Badu's place. That's why they hate each other. You know what I'm saying? It's whenever one fades out, they just bring another one. Like Beyonce's reign is done. So Beyonce came in to replace Jennifer Lopez. Jennifer Lopez came in to replace Mariah Carey.
And who is Rihanna influenced by? I'm thinking Rihanna is influenced by Beyonce, because she's really sexually on stage all at the time.
Yeah, well, she to me was the only one that's viable to really take it to the Beyonce level, because she's the only one that seems the most comfortable with being possessed. So she'll get the farthest. So that's what it is too. The higher up in the game you get, the more homosexual it gets, but also the more compromised the person is. You see, the more guilty these people feel, the more corruptible these people are. The higher up you get. You see what I'm saying? So it's the same thing in the game. It's just how much of it are you willing to take?
Okay. And another question I want to ask you. I've been watching news lately and, CNN a few times. I've been seeing a lot of things lately, a book coming out about only way for black women to get married, she has to date outside our, culture, like meaning with a white guy and stuff like that. There's a lot been talking about that lately. So they've been making books and stuff like black women.
Yeah, this is what they're trying to do. They're trying to turn you against your own children. They're trying to turn black and quote unquote Hispanic women into.
Because most black women are not married,
Right, because of what happened during the 70s, the late 60s, the 70s, and then the 80s, which was the rise of the feminist movement, black women being encouraged to join the feminist movement out of the Black Power movement due to the abuse that they suffered under the black men who happened to be under the jurisdiction of the CIA or whoever else who allowed that to happen. And then they got corrupted into the movement of the feminists, or the black feminists, under Gloria Steinem and Paglia, who then allowed them to become the nannies for their children while they went out and became the working girls. That's why all the movies in the 80s was about the white women going to work and falling into a job where they make millions of dollars and stuff like that, while the black woman was always the best friend or the maid or the prostitute or the whoever to do so. Yeah. So within the process of that, the black women then finally were able to have a family, but they couldn't have no man because they was out supporting Western society, in which now the black man, again, is the basis of the legal system. So she then had to to get a man, she either had to become a police officer or whatever else, where she could at least be around men, or whatever. But in the process of that, now she's being encouraged through the gay movement to now become lesbian. So then when she becomes lesbian, this pulls her away further from the family, you see, which then creates another byproduct of now children who are the product of women who want to get pregnant but think they hate men because they've been with a woman. But really, this is all just a generational thing that was left over from their mothers who were duped into the same situation. So now the white man has to be the white horse, which happens to also be the horse of death, to take you, the black woman, into the hereafter, where he can come back through you as a Barack Obama-type black man with the mind of a white supremacist, and you can become his concubine, who he will eventually eat. Yet, because he has money, you see what I'm saying? And a lot of black men have been put through the same system in which now they believe that they're gay because they have been raped and they have been in situations in which they have been compromised against their will based upon lack of knowledge, which then creates another form of apathy between men and women because now we feel we're not clean enough for each other anymore. So we try to find problems with each other. And then they write books, and eventually they make a movie like Something New or Zebrahead or something else in which now the white guy becomes the savior because these niggas ain't shit. And as true as that may be, it doesn't mean that that is the truth. Yet, neither one of us is making the effort to make it something else. Because the minute we do, our own people shut us down. You know what I'm saying?
Make it difficult.
So, this cannot continue. So, in the end, all we have to do is stick to the faith that we have and know that the cleaner we get, the more we're going to attract somebody that's just as clean, if not more.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, well, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Bless you and your family.
Thank you for the support. You as well. Be safe, clean.
All right, peace.
Peace. Two on Super Radio. Peace. Okay, trying to. You're on Super Radio.
Hi, how are you?
Peace, how are you, Queen?
I'm good, thank you. I wanted to ask you if you could help me with the current dream that I've been having over and over. I keep dreaming that the government has men chasing me, usually in white, sometimes black, but usually in white suits. And they chase me everywhere. I mean, I go under the ocean, and they follow me. I can go through walls, brick walls, but they can't follow me past the brick walls. Sometimes I go into outer space and hide where they can't find me. But it seems like if I'm here anywhere on Earth, they can find me. But it's like a constant dream, that they're chasing me. And right before they try to catch me, I wake up.
Does this happen every time you go to sleep?
Not every time, but at least 3-4 times out of the week. The majority of my dreams, I'm being chased by the government.
What about in your real life? Have you noticed anyone following you?
A lot. I get that often. Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
I'm not trying to be conceited, but I'm a good-looking, light-skinned woman. So, sometimes men will try to talk to me, and sometimes if I just say hi and keep it moving, they get volatile sometimes towards me. So, that sort of thing.
Do you find when that happens, you're wearing colors like red or black?
Red and black are my two favorite colors, so yes.
Is it a feeling like if you're walking down the street and you see somebody up around you, is it a feeling of like dread walking up towards them, or is it more of like a thing where you notice it as you're passing the person?
Either or. Sometimes it's a feeling of dread. Sometimes it's I'm just walking past the person. I mean, usually I'm pretty good at picking up vibes on people, and sometimes I see people that I know, you know, that are seeing me before I see them. If you know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay. This is what you should start to do. You should start to envision yourself in a violet egg. A giant violet egg around you, and envision yourself in a violet egg that's encased in a silver egg, which is then encased in a gold egg. And outside of the egg, there are mirrors that are revolving outwardly, and they're revolving outside of the egg that you are inside of. That allows everything that is projected to you to be projected outward.
Okay.
What you might want to do is go into your house and look for something that should not be there. Look around.
What was that?
Do a good cleaning of your house. Clean it out. Do you live in a city?
Yes, I live in the city in an apartment building.
Okay, well, is there bodegas and stuff around?
Yes, a lot. Every corner.
Or botanicas?
Yes. Actually, I purchase a lot of stuff from botanicas.
Okay, there's something called creolin. You get this and you put it in the water that you mop your crib with after you clean it out. It's called creolin.
Okay.
And then after you do the thorough cleaning, go through each room with a fresh face, fresh mind, and walk in and look around for anything that you feel shouldn't be there. Whatever it is, you'll know it. I will know yours. Whatever it is, make sure you get it out. And, if you have do you have an altar or anything like that?
Yes, I do.
Okay, good. So, keep that straight and walk with an Anubis.
I actually have one.
Excellent. So if you can walk with a small one that you can have, walk with that, and walk with hematite or
it's funny that you say that. I do have hematite. I have a bracelet that's hematite.
So then you good. Walk with him, and then visualize a giant black Anubis dog that walks with you when you go out. And when you have a dream of them again, imagine some sort of armor manifesting around you and attack them.
Okay.
Attack them. See what happens.
Okay.
It's not like you're not gonna wake up. If it gets too hectic, you'll wake up.
Yeah. I usually do wake up when it gets to that point.
But once it happens, usually you be running. This time, flip the vibration on them.
Okay.
And attack them. And be as savage as you need to be. Don't use 3-dimensional morality in a 2-dimensional world. Do whatever you want to do with them. Stay heads off, rip them up, rip out their entrails, whatever you want to do.
Okay.
This is a dream, you understand? It's not real. Yet, it's more real than the reality we're in. Yet, you are still innocent in it, so you have more of an ability to rise and wake up out of it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And then holler at me. Let me know what happens at houseofl @hotmail.com. HOUSEOFEL hotmail.com.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Right.
Have a good night.
You too. Peace.
Thank you. Peace.
Peace. So, yeah, man, everybody, thank you for coming through. Thank you for being a part of our exchange and this, and during this, tonight is the night of the, hold on, that some people has put it, rather cool, called it in chocolate. Look out for them to talk about as well as fall into play for the reality. So our bone right now. Festival of my bones was fine. This is